And now, live from the 2015 Vancouver International Wine Festival, Anthony Gismondi and Casey Wilson. This is Tony and Casey's Best of Food and Wine on Sea Isle 650.
But the smile on his face quickly turns to a sneer as the barman says sadly, the pub's got no beer.
Well, welcome back to the Best of Food and Wine.
Comes in.
I'm not sure there'll be any shortage of wine in this room tonight, but maybe beer. Joining us now is an old friend, Bill Hardy, one of the most famous names in Australian wine. Of course, Bill is a winemaker, and KateHardy joins us alongside. Bill, Kate, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Tony.
Now, Kate, you've come up from San Francisco?
I have, yes.
Yeah.
I'm based down there.
And enjoying Vancouver?
I am. It's lovely. We went up to Whistler yesterday. It was just a beautiful day.
I think Bill's here because of Kate. You came to North America. And tell us, Kate, what do you do in San Francisco?
I'm a lawyer based in the alcohol industry. So.
We need you here in Vancouver, don't we, Tony?
Wow. Someone who sues wineries. That's my kind of person.
Oh, no, I'm pro wineries. Very pro wineries.
Well, great to have you both back in Vancouver. Nice to have Australia featured this year, Bill, and looking great.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? It reminds me of the wonderful Savour event we had in Australia a year and a half ago,
Yeah, well, great energy came out of those tastings, and I think has sort of been spread around the world now in the last couple of years.
Sure.
We've been hearing a lot about regionality and places and people. What's going on in Australia in your view, and where is it at today?
It's a lot is happening because I think a lot needed to. We got a little bit complacent probably by the early 2000s. We'd had a bull run in many markets for probably 10 or 15 years at that stage, and we really needed to revise what we were doing. Mm-hmm. There's been a huge change in terms of regions we've moved into, varieties we're working in, styles of our wine. All those things in the last 5 to 10 years has just evolved dramatically.
Mm-hmm. You guys seem to like looking at yourself and reviewing what you're doing on a constant basis.
Yeah, we do.
It's healthy, I think.
We do, and we do it together, which is great. One of the things about the Australian wine industry that people from other wine industries where I've been, South Africa, France, cannot believe the sense of cooperation you have in Australia.
Yeah.
The way producers get together, talk to one another, tell one another what they're doing.
How did that start?
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. I guess I would surmise because we're so far away from everything else, we really had to cooperate to conquer the world, as it were.
Yes.
Survival.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Having said that, just one aspect I was going to bring up is that my great-great-grandfather who founded our business during his lifetime made at least half a dozen trips around the world to see what other wine industries were doing. Mm-hmm. He wrote what's now acknowledged as the first book on Californian wine in 1883. He wrote pamphlets on the South African wine industry, the European wine industry. So even though we were far-flung and literally having to do our own thing, people like my great-great-grandfather recognised we needed to know what other people were doing as well.
Mm. Well, tonight, I don't want to run out of time, so we'll start with the wine. You brought along this gorgeous, famous bottle of Tintara McLaren Vale Shiraz.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Maybe start with the place and then work into this wine and how it fits into Hardy's.
Yeah, well, McLaren Vale's really our spiritual home.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful area on St Vincent's Gulf. St Vincent, the patron saint of wine.
Yeah. Just
south of Adelaide, only not even an hour south of Adelaide. Wonderful temperate climate, amazing geology, very, very different geology. So you get all these almost sub-regional styles down there. It's a red area, though, without doubt. It's not a white area. It tends to produce wines with good depth, but lovely softness and lovely roundness. Mm-hmm. Red fruits, dark fruits, particularly prune, plum, prune, all those sorts of things.
Wow.
Probably not as much chocolate as you get up in the Barossa chocolate coffee. It's a little purer. We love the purity of McLaren Vale Shiraz.
A little more red fruit character, too, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kate, you must miss that region.
I do. I mean, it's been lovely the last couple of years living so close to Napa, so actually being back in wine country again. But Very fond of McLaren Vale.
Yes.
It feels like home.
The summers are a bit cooler in San Francisco than...
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you give your dad advice?
Oh, no. No, I don't presume to do that.
Oh.
That's not entirely true.
Do you give your daughter advice then?
I've never heard a father not getting advice from his daughter. I get it like constantly.
You're right, Tony.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
One of the things Kate's advised me on recently is our company chose to put a wine out under my name when I reached 40 years in the business. We've recognised one member of each generation, and they decided to release a William Hardy range of wines 2 years ago. And we had to come up with a licensing agreement for this William Hardy name, so it was very rapidly passed to Kate. And
that was handy.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're independently wealthy.
Well, not quite, but
yeah. Well, you've got a great gang of people here. We talked about them earlier. What about Shiraz? How do you see it now moving forward in Australia, and will it continue to be the grape that it has been? And
most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And the reason I'm saying so definitely is that we're learning about all the different styles it can produce under different sort of climatic conditions, different soil conditions. And, the big, rich Barossa style will continue, but you'll see a myriad of other styles, particularly central Victoria, some of the cool areas down around Melbourne, all those areas over in Western Australia, the Great Southern. You'll find much more Rhone styles coming out, much more sort of pepper, spicy styles as well. In fact, if anything, in the Shiraz game within Australia, they're the ones that tend to be winning our competitions, those finer styles, peppery, slightly more Rhone styles.
And so when you get in a room now and you talk about the future for Hardy's and, let's say, Hardy's Australian wine, what sort of countries are you probably looking at in the next 5 to 10 years to really concentrate on?
In terms of marketing?
Yeah, in terms of
sales. Asia has been, I guess, our biggest focus in the last 5 years, and I think it will continue to be for some time.
And they're in love with Shiraz?
They are. They love red wine.
And are you talking about Japan and China, or mainly China?
I'm not talking about mainly China. Almost everybody, when they bring up Asia, is talking about China.
Yes.
From my personal experience up there, we have found all the satellite markets, Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, even Indonesia, Myanmar now, and the northern markets, as you mentioned, Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. They're all fantastic markets. They're much easier in a way, I guess, than China itself to try and tackle China.
Yes.
It is such a big place.
It is. Yeah. It is. You can't really tackle it on a national basis. We've tried to find regional distributors to try and help us get in. And we've had to appoint 6 different regional distributors to even make some coverage of the country.
What do you think about South America? Is it a place that you don't see hardly any Australians there, any Australian wine, but is it... I don't know what it is.
I mean, obviously the two
Brazil
producing countries.
Big,
Yes, Brazil, I've worked in that market, particularly the last few years. We saw the potential with the World Cup and now the Olympics coming up, that there'd be lots of visitors and all that sort of thing. But there is a preferential duty rate with other South American producers that make them a little more competitive, I guess. So it's tough. It's still tough there.
I want to know about the oldest known bottle of Australian wine.
Yeah, that's something we made a bit of noise about bringing here to Vancouver. I actually carried in my baggage over here the oldest known bottle of Australian wine, which, Tony, is that brand. It's Tintara. It's an 1867 wine that our company didn't acquire until 2003. But the story of it's fantastic. It was made in 1867, so in 1870 the Governor of South Australia took some produce from South Australia back to the United Kingdom to show them what the colonies could do. And apparently a few bottles were left over and they got left in someone's cellar. And a bit over 100 years later at a Sotheby's auction, this 1867 Tintara came up along with an 1864 Pusey Vale wine. And apparently they put the 1864 wine last in the auction. So the 1867 sold to the Sutherland Smith family at quite a reasonable price. The 1864 Pusey Vale sold for a bomb.
Crazy, yeah.
Would you believe that having knocked the wine down to the buyer of the 1864, the auctioneer knocked the wine down and broke it?
Oh, no.
And suddenly the 1867 became the oldest known bottle of Australian wine.
Wow.
What a great story.
Wow, that is a great story. And the value went up dramatically.
It did, indeed.
Yeah. So you won't be opening that bottle?
No, but we've got it here in Vancouver up in our hospitality suite at the moment. So, those who are visiting the hospitality suite have been admiring it.
We'll have to get the Vancouver Sun over there to take a picture of that.
Yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And Kate, I think it must be so much fun when you go out for dinner in San Francisco and you order one of your dad's wines, and maybe people you're with may not even know what you're doing, or people you don't know that well, and then to say that my father has made this wine, that's fantastic.
It is. It's wonderful. I mean, in Australia we have so much more access to it, but to see it coming through now in the US market, to see it here in Canada is just wonderful, to see the family name on the bottles.
We've always been great supporters of Australian wine in Canada.
Yeah, you have.